Alright, the first new exercise, working on the inside picking, like I mentioned. So, just a brief review of what I was talking about. So you're going to be picking in between the A and the E string. So when you're starting this stuff, you're always picking in between the E and the A. Like your pick is basically always staying in between there, versus outside picking would be more like that, because you're still picking the E and A string here, but your pick's not staying in between here. It's like bouncing on the outside of the E and A. So that's outside string picking. Inside is on the inside. What a wonderful name, ain't it? So this is to help you when you were doing your string changes. And this guy, and it's mostly going up, because when you're doing that, down, up, down, you're doing inside picking when you're doing that ascending thing. You actually were doing outside picking when you went down, up, down here. And the only time I was really hearing the absence of a strong upstroke before transferring strings was during the ascending portion. So, when you do this, I want you to keep lifting your fingers off, so this way you're not doing this. Because if you were to leave your fingers down, the faster you get, the harder it is to tell if you're hitting the notes well enough. So, definitely harder to keep those fingers going back and forth like that. But it's to make sure that each thing sounds good. It's also going to work on your right and left hand synchronization stuff too. Alright. So remember, only increase the metronome if you strongly feel you did a 10 out of 10 performance, alright? Okay, here we go at 60 beats a minute. That's what it sounds like. Always starting with a downstroke. Double time. $160. $200. And $240. That is not easy. So, just so you have good perspective on what to expect, this is not going to be blazingly fast. Something like this can't be done crazy fast, performing it that way. Like, the only way you can really do it is like as if you're doing like a hybrid picking type thing, which I'm not very good at. Hybrid picking would be like, in case you don't know, picking with the middle finger and, or at least another finger plus the pick. Moving on to this guy, working on pinky strength, endurance, and just keeping that finger closer to the fretboard. So you reduce the distance you're taking your finger away from the fretboard, which will in turn increase the speed. And it'll increase accuracy too, because again, just that less distance to go. So you're also, or what I'd like you to make, good grief, I can't talk. What I would like you to focus on this as well is thumb placement. So just keep it back here behind the fretboard, Basically, I keep it like behind fret number 6. So you don't want to start it off here and then move it back. Keep it back there the whole time. The other thing we talked about in terms of muting, so yeah, when you're doing a pull off, you will graze whatever strings, whatever string you're next to. So if you're pulling off from the B string, you're gonna hit the E string. If you pull off from the G string, you're gonna hit the B string, and so on. So your index finger needs to be not completely on the tip, not completely flat either. It needs to be like in between the tip and being flat. So curve it a little bit, so this way, like when you're pulling off from on the G string, you don't hear an extra note ringing out. So what was happening, just as a reminder, when you're pulling off, if your finger's too flat, you're going to have that bar chord sound. So if you hear that, just bend your knuckle a little bit more. And again, take your time with it. Make it sound as good as you can every single time. If you notice that maybe one string you have muting issues more than another, just spend some time on that one string and kind of see how you need to position your hand, your wrist, and whatnot in order to get rid of unwanted noise. Alright, so here it is at 60 beats a minute. You may notice that it can actually seem harder to mute out unwanted noise at super slow speeds like the 60 beats a minute, because you have so much time from the pull off to the hammer on that your ear can pick up on you hitting the muted string a little bit. So if it sounds like a little percussive when you do it, let's see if I can make that happen. Like, I can hear it a little bit there, but at this speed, it's gone. So if you hear a little bit of percussive sound that's a result of you having muted the string, that's okay. It's not a huge deal. You will hear that much easier at the slower tempos versus when you start going a lot faster. So when you're going a lot faster, the muting stuff you won't even hear. All right, here we go at 120. $160. $200. And $240. Okay. There's a good chance this part of your hand is going to feel a bit tired running through all that. As long as you don't feel sharp pains, twinges, things like that, you should be fine. So when you get the stiffness setting in that part of your hand, keep pushing it best you can, as long as it sounds good, of course. And that's going to, I mean, just like we talked about a little bit earlier today, weight room stuff. So it's just like weight training, but for guitar playing. So it's not a big deal if you get some tension, fatigue building up in your hand while you do that, as long as you're not having any weird, sharp, twingy pains, things like that. But just your hand getting a little stiff, I have yet to have any problems with that. I haven't had any students have problems with that, but use your own judgment. But yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll see you next time.